the funny part, the other day, I'm in the car with my kid and my wife, right? And he was like, Dad, how long is Napoleon? And I'm like, oh, I think it's like a 2 hour, 2.5 hour movie. And my wife's like, don't fucking watch it. That movie's so bad. She's like, it's a waste of time. You'll never get that time back. Don't fucking watch it. And I'm like, when did you watch Napoleon? And she was like, Napoleon Dynamite? And I'm like, no. And I'm like, he's talking about the one I'm doing for my podcast. And she was like, you're doing Napoleon Dynamite for your, I'm like, no. I'm like, I'm
Can be
doing,
good. And I
I'm
would
like,
watch a 2.5 hour cut of Napoleon Dynamite. That's
I was,
another one that I definitely want the fucking director's cut of that film.
I was like, no, man. I'm like, Napoleon, the historical figure. She's like, I don't know who that is. I don't know that movie. I'm like, ah, fuck. This week, we got an epic rise and fall of one of history's most celebrated and controversial leaders. We're talking movies, we're talking Napoleon, starring Joaquin Phoenix, Vanessa Kirby, and Rupert Everett. Written by David Scarpa and directed by Ridley Scott. Chris, destiny has brought me this lamb chop.
You think you're great? You're just a teeny little brute that is nothing without me. Say it.
Hey, everybody, and welcome to this week's episode of How'd You Like That Movie? Today, we're going to be talking about a not so short man, but it might be a kind of short episode because we're talking about Ridley Scott's 2023 epic film, and there's some asterisks on that, Napoleon. So, Scott, why don't you take us away?
You know what? Like, I think you've missed your calling. Like, I think journalism should have been it, man, because you know how to bury a lead like a motherfucker. Right? Like, you've missed your calling. But yeah, I'm guessing we're actually going to be at the same on this one, which I'm kind of surprised about. But yeah, this was just like it was a one and doneer, right? Like, hey, it's a Ridley Scott film. It looks like a Ridley Scott film, acts like a Ridley Scott film, and I'll probably never watch it again. But yeah, like it didn't, garner enough that I was like, man, this was it, right? Which is it's accomplishment. Like, I'd say Apple Film Studios, like it is a good little piece for what they had this year getting released, right?
Yeah, so this is the weird thing about Ridley Scott. So I would say that, the last three Ridley Scott films, this, House of Gucci, and The Last Duel, this is starting to kind of be the vibe of a Ridley Scott film, which is they kind of fucking suck. Like, the guy can still, he's a master of a battle sequence. But every time he tries to do the dramatic component, and again, House of Gucci was a fucking train wreck, looked beautiful. The Last Duel, fucking kind of pointless, and but had a great Last Duel. And this one is, again, this is just like a fucking nightmare of a film to watch. I'm definitely not going to get into the historical accuracies or inaccuracies. I just don't know enough about the Napoleonic Wars. So I'm just going to be talking about it as a film. But I can't believe sometimes that this is the same guy that did Blade Runner, Gladiator, American Gangster, Thelma and Louise, Black Hawk Down. Like, this guy's a fucking good filmmaker. And I almost want to be like, Ridley, baby, step the fuck away from the director's chair for a bit and sort your shit out. Because if you keep going in this vein, you are not going to be remembered as the fucking dope ass filmmaker that you are. You're going to be remembered as a guy that just turned out a bunch of fucking garbage at the end of your career. And I definitely don't want to see that. Like, Gladiator is one of my favorite films.
He's what? Like, he was born in 37, right?
Okay.
So he's in his 80s. Like,
okay,
maybe,
then stop fucking making films. Like,
well, what I was gonna say is it's like that old adage. He's fucking 86 years old. Good for
Mm.
him. It's not an old age adage, right? Once you stop, that's when you stop, right? Like
Oh,
you
you
got to
die.
keep on
Like
moving.
basically, you're
Yeah,
worried that if he stops making films, he's gonna fucking die.
yeah. That's why, because I think he has like another four on his slate already. Like,
Well,
yeah,
his
he has.
Gladiator 2 is the next big thing that I'm definitely not excited about because first off, so this is written by David. Is it Scarpa? Is that how you say his name? I'm gonna assume it's
Well,
Scarpa.
that's how I said it.
All right,
It
cool.
doesn't mean that's how it's
Yeah, I
right.
mean that's what we do on this show. How'd you like the way we butchered your name? So he did The Last Castle, which I actually think is a pretty cool film. The Day the Earth Stood Still, garbage. All the Money in the World, okay. And then this and Gladiator 2. Like that's like basically his whole filmography. I don't think I missed much there. Other than the fact that he worked with Ridley on All the Money in the World, like what the fuck? This guy has no business being the guy that writes a fucking Napoleonic era, you know, political war drama.
Get the fuck out of here. Get the fuck out of here.
Like, there's nothing in this guy's fucking repertoire that I'd be like, you know what? You seem like the type of fucking guy that should come out and do this. Like,
Well,
even go ahead.
I was gonna say you're making it assume that maybe he had the script already written. Maybe no one came to him to write the script. He
Whatever.
brought the script to
Whatever.
Ridley.
What I'm saying is like, there's nothing about this guy's repertoire that would make me trust a fucking script by him that is of epic proportion on this. This is not somebody that it's not like, you know, it's not coming from a book like, you know, Master and Commander or any of these types of things, right? And so, okay, so let's take what you said. Maybe he had this fucking script. That means motherfucking Ridley Scott, and I think maybe Ridley Scott needs to spend some time reading fucking scripts because the stories around the original Gladiator, which again, fantastic film, is there was like tons of shit not written when they went into production. Like they were just fucking winging it. But the thing with Gladiator is I think it really hinges on the fact it is primarily a fight film, whether it's an epic battle or in the not the auditorium, the Coliseum. The drama stuff kind of just is in there, and I think it's well done. But there's so much just fucking awesomeness, it doesn't really matter. You know what I mean?
Well, it's just Gladiator, give or take, is just Spartacus kind of rewritten.
Yeah.
Right. So it's just like anything. It's a story you kind of know. And I think the fact that Russell Crowe, like that performance is really what got you fucking going back there, right? Like I think I watched it twice in theaters, Gladiator, when that came out, because it was so fucking good, right?
I think it was the first film I ever watched, like multiple, like went back. I think I saw it at least twice, maybe even 3 times. And it was like the first film that, like, as an adult, I was like, oh shit, I want to go watch this fucking film again. And
so do you want to tell everybody what the movie was as a child that you went back to constantly?
Well, I was a child, so I got to go to the whatever fucking movie my parents took me to. That's not. I didn't get to make a. I didn't make a real. I didn't get the. I didn't have my own money, so I couldn't do that. So
just admit it. It was Spice World. You went multiple times to go watch Spice World.
I remember I'm a little bit older than you, so I actually have never actually seen Spice World. Anyway, back to Napoleon. So I think that Ridley Scott needs to just go, what am I really good at, right? I am really good at shooting combat sequences. So you could do Napoleon and just do the fucking war shit. You know what I mean? Even though like I would even allow him to get into maybe some of the basic politics. But just don't try and make it a drama. And not that I don't think that like Josephine in the life of Napoleon is super important. You're not doing a good job of showing that aspect. So just give me 3 hours of fucking badass Napoleonic War and we'll give you a fucking Oscar Best Picture. Good, we're done. Like, let's get the fuck out of here. Instead, you're turning out fucking almost unwatchable fucking films. Like, so I actually have 2 quotes this week because I needed 2 to kind of cover how I felt. So Deborah Ross from The Spectator said, it does have the feel of a film that's been scissored to death. The battle sequences are spectacular, but the jackhammer cutting style, hang on, how did we get from here to here means the storytelling is hurried and confusing. 100%. You're like, you're here, then they're like, you're in the French Revolution, and then Napoleon's going off to fight a battle, and then he's meeting Josephine, and then they're like, hey, maybe you should, be part of the leadership team. And oh, now we're off to another battle. And nothing really gets like the Battle of Moscow or the Battle of Russia or whatever you want to call it. Like that is a fucking epic, part of the Napoleonic saga, because it's basically the real beginning of the end of Napoleon, because his army gets decimated. That thing like happens in like fucking 15 minutes or something like that. Like you could have really just hung out in there. Even the Battle of Waterloo seemed small for a battle that is a massive battle, historical battle. You know what I mean?
Now, could it be? Well, what was the runtime for this? Do you remember?
The runtime is 2 hours and 37 minutes, and there's a director's cut that's going to come out on Apple Plus that's in the 4-hour mark.
Hell no, to the no.
So, do you think that, it's the Snyder cut in Napoleon, where once you
That's
get
your
that
fault.
four,
Okay, so
that's what you get your 4-hour cut, and then you're like, oh my god,
then
this
that's
is the most
you.
amazing.
Listen, that's your fucking fault as the director. If you don't put out the film, and I know this happened supposedly with Blade Runner and blah 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 blah. I'm tired of Ridley Scott's excuses around this shit. It's like the film I'm going to watch in the theater, it better be good. Now you can be like, this is good, but there's even a better version because I had more time. I'm willing to give you that grace, but you don't get to be like, oh, this is a dog shit fucking film, but why don't you go watch my 4-hour cut on Apple Plus? That's not gonna fucking happen, buds. Like you needed to take whatever you were going to put in the theater and make it as good as possible. And then the 4-hour cut needs to be the extra, needs to be the like extended version, not the shitty version went to the theater, gets panned by the critics. And then you're like, but can you give me another hour and a half of your fucking time? Yeah, no, thank you. Like, hey, that sexual experience was really awful, but I can go longer next time. Like, no, I don't need longer fucking of this awful experience.
Now, I haven't seen it, but I'm assuming you have.
What, the film?
No. I was gonna say, what about like the Hateful Eight? Doesn't it have also like
There's a roadshow edition that's a bit longer. No, I haven't been able to get a hold of it.
I thought it was on Netflix.
It's on American Netflix. So unless you have a VPN, which this is one of the things that's infuriating with Netflix sometimes. It's like, and I get it, it's about licensing, like, but you have Hateful Eight on Netflix, and you have the Roadshow edition broken up into sections on the American Netflix. Explain to me how you couldn't get that licensing here and get like.
Why? Because fuck them, that's why.
It's irritating because I actually want to see it. But I like the Hateful Eight. The Hateful Eight, the editions, I saw it in the theater. I've seen it on Netflix. All the editions I like. So yeah, you've got some more of that for me? Gimme. Get that fucking Hateful Eight in my face. But no, I don't want to watch more. And listen, let's be honest. I'm probably going to watch the director's cut of this because it'll be on Apple Plus sometime in January, I'm assuming. But I don't think that's a fucking selling point. So that's kind of my really broad take on this film.
Yeah, I like watching it. It was the same. Like I was more trying to figure out, because again, like you said, I didn't know very much about the Napoleon years and stuff like that, and it didn't really, like, watching this film didn't really make
the
me
Napoleon
want
years
to...
sounds like a sitcom similar to the Wonder Years, but set with like a little Napoleon.
Yeah, it's right after Marie Antoinette, right? Like that's what, like, I'll say this, like, everybody's about, like, the cameos and shit. The fact that you couldn't have Kristen Dunst portray fucking Marie Antoinette at the beginning, like, that would have gave me like some props right there. I would have been like, fuck, there you go, right?
With like a punk rock score playing over top of it, just like a little homage to Sofia Coppola.
Right. But yeah, like watching this film didn't make me want to like research it and be like, oh man, like how badass was this guy, kind of thing. And it's kind of sad because he's like, Napoleon's like the MacGuffin and like one of my favorite stories, right? Like Count of Monte Cristo. He's the thing that kind of sets it off. But yeah, like I was trying to figure out how long this fucking time frame was, because I'm like, shouldn't he like be super old by the time this is? Because it made it seem like this was a decades long like reign when it was like 15 years, I think it was. And I'm like, why is no one getting older? Like everybody looks the exact same from when they met to when they die, except for Vanessa Kirby. She went from short hair to long hair, and that was pretty much just it.
Yeah, man. I don't know. I didn't get hung up on that. I was too busy not enjoying the film I was watching in the movie theater. I'm just actually, I've got the poster to Napoleon kind of like off to the side of the screen here. And I noticed it says written by David Scarpa. Like that. And I'm actually, I had read this kind of comment somewhere else too. It was like, who the fuck? It's like Alice, who the fuck is Alice? Like, who the fuck is David Scarpa that you're putting his name on the fucking poster? Like, you're not like, oh, I've never heard of this Ridley Scott guy, but man, I love that fucking remake of fucking what is it, The End of the World or The Day the Earth Stood Still. Gonna go watch this fucking flick. Come on. Jesus Christ, man. I mean, I guess
never walk into this guy in like an alley or something, because you're gonna get fucking beat. Like, what's my name, bitch? What's my name?
How do you like those apples? I wonder if like he went back to him as a writer, because the last time that Ridley kind of had any Oscar buzz was around the All the Money in the World, right? But the problem is that All the Money in the World, the reason it went to the Oscars had nothing to do with like him. It had to do with the fact that Christopher Plummer got a supporting actor nod, and Christopher Plummer wasn't even supposed to be in the fucking movie.
Well, that's a lie.
Okay,
that's a lie.
Well,
he was the first choice. He was Ridley Scott's first choice, but then the studio wanted Spacey.
Okay, that's if you believe, because remember that statement comes out after. So that's if you believe that statement. But sure, let's go with that. The reality though is he was not supposed to be in the fucking movie. They were supposed to do like old man makeup on fucking Kevin Spacey. Again, wild. When you have Christopher fucking Plummer, by the way, our boy from fucking Toronto. So, you know, props up to him. Like, why not just cast that amazing actor in the first place? But anyway, I digress. So it's the only reason I can think that. But now this guy's also doing fucking Gladiator too. Like, I am now very, very concerned about how poor Gladiator 2 is going to be.
Like poor in story, or
like just like dog shit? Like
how
it's going
poor
to be
the guy
shit.
who's going to be Gladiator and Gladiator 2 is going to be, and he has to then, you know, make his monies because they didn't have OnlyFans. He has to go fight in the Coliseum to make money for his starving family.
Is that literally the plot of Gladiator 2?
Well, if it's not, like, I should get some fucking credit, Mr. Scarpa, if you're gonna rewrite that shit and be like, fuck, that's a good idea.
I think that's what a lot of gladiators did, actually. I think because they were kind of like rock stars at the time. Anyway, so this film's got a 58 from the critics and it's got a 58 from the audience. I don't have a list in front of me. I should have actually put it directly in my notes, but like Ridley has not been doing great with like these big blockbuster films as far as like a return on investment. This had a $200 million budget, and it's so far done 173 million at the box office. Obviously, there's an asterisk on that because it's financed by Apple, and Apple needs good content. But like the film, both The Last Duel and House of Gucci had big budgets and mostly didn't make their money back or even just broke even. So yeah, I don't know, man. You can only
wait.
Go ahead.
What year did The Last Duel come out?
Wasn't that last year?
But wasn't that one of your best picks of 20? Like when we do our year end.
No. It was one of my anticipated films. It was one of the things I was looking forward to. And then we actually, so if you haven't heard our show on the House of Gucci, you should go check it out because I basically eviscerated that film. I went to the House of Gucci like a designer to a piece of cloth and a set of scissors. You know what I mean? Chop that up.
Okay. No, well, I remember House of Gucci because I remember you bashing Lady Gaga's Russian accent.
Her Dracula.
Yeah. Or Italian accent that ended up being a Russian accent or something like that. But I could have sworn
The Last Duel was 2021, according to our producer. It was 2021.
Yeah, because I'm pretty sure if you go back to that episode, you were like fucking chowing down on that shit like it was like your last meal. You're loving it.
Like Kobayashi.
And I was like, I haven't watched that movie, and I have no intention of watching a movie about rape culture and after the Me Too's. But
Oh no! You're talking. Sorry, you're not talking about House of Goose. You're talking Last Duel.
yes, because I remember you were all over it, like you loved it, because you're like it was
Uh,
his story, her story, and then the
I
truth.
thought again, we're not gonna dwell on this. You can go listen to our episode on Last Duel. I highly recommend it. And then you can let us know how Scott doesn't seem to even know what I'm saying on our own podcast. So,
Okay.
do you have anything else really to say about this film? Like,
Well, like I think it will be nominated. Like in terms of budget, I think you're completely right because I think Apple now is just doing these like limited releases like they did with Flower Moon and stuff like that, just to make some money off of it. But it's all about the subscriptions, right? Like all about like the tech and getting people to get the Apple Plus. So I think probably if you look at it, it making like 3/4 of its budget is probably a plus for them. And come January or February, whenever the fuck it is, you figure I would know doing this podcast. Whenever the Oscar nominations come out, I'm sure this is going to get nominated for a couple things as well, right? Like I could see
maybe costume or
costumes, set design,
I
stuff
don't
like
see
that.
acting, and I don't. I
I'm
don't see
going to
best
say
picture.
maybe Kirby. I'm going to say maybe Vanessa Kirby.
Well, as it stands
I'm
right
not going
now,
to
it
say
has
she's
no
going to win.
accolades. Like
Yeah, I was going to say
none of the big critic circles or any of those so far. Obviously, Indie Spirits is too small. Gotham Awards. Again, I don't know if the Gotham Awards would count. But really, for the most part, it hasn't done great in all the lead up stuff so far. But you're right. Like we are at the very beginning of the season, right? So
yeah, the cinematography for sure. I'm going to say it gets it. I don't know what the AACTA international awards are, but Vanessa Kirby was nominated for Best Supporting Actress under Napoleon, which I think is weird.
yeah. So what you don't know what those awards are though.
Right. But I'm saying, why would she be support? Like, who would you have put in as
Well, she's definitely a supporting
the
character. She's not a lead in this at all. Like
well
he is the lead.
actress? Right, but actress. I would say she's the
But
lead
not every movie.
actress.
No. That's come on, man. That's don't embarrass yourself online here. Just because a film has a woman in it or a male in it, if they're not in an actual lead role, some films don't have a lead male or female. Like they've got one or the other, and then the other characters are all supporting. So this film does not have a lead female actor. She is the leading female actor, but she is not in a lead role. She's in a supporting role.
I don't know, man. I'm gonna agree to disagree on this because if you throw in the trailer, if half the trailer's her as well as
Oh well then,
Joaquin.
since the trailer shows her.
No, I'm just saying that, and her story is and his like her. I'm not gonna say manipulation, but her relationship with him is a vital part of the plot as well. I'm gonna say they probably have pretty similar. Like if you tie this up, they're probably pretty close to the same amount of screen time. I'm gonna say Joaquin's probably a little bit more because of the battles.
Well, and it's also called Napoleon, not Napoleon and Josephine, right? So
I'm just saying. I'm gonna.
all right, you know what? You know what? No, maybe you've swayed me a bit. I think it could have been. I think she and the way this film was pitched prior to people seeing it was the idea was that she would be like the lead, like a lead female, and that there was going to be a lot of Napoleon and her. I just feel like the film I actually watched marginalized that character to the point that I don't know if she's a lead, but I'm actually, you know what? I'm willing to agree with you on this. You've convinced me.
I love when you patronize me. I fucking love it.
Yeah, man, and it's unfortunate because both Vanessa Kirby and Joaquin are fantastic actors. Like I love the work they do. She was so good in The Crown as Margaret. And I felt like this script does not give these actors a lot to work with. Like, I don't actually blame them for not having great performances because I feel like the dialogue in the script just wasn't there. Like you can only do so much with nothing. You know what I mean?
No, I agree. And that's the thing. Like I said, like I left it and I was just like, all right, I watched it. I'm like, and it probably was one of the things that if you didn't choose it for this episode, it probably would have been one of those movies like, I'll eventually get to, but not like it wasn't on one of my like I gotta fucking watch this movie kind of thing.
I'm glad I saw it in the theater just because those big Napoleonic battles are, I mean, they're grandiose. Like those are well done. And that, like, if I could just go and be like, I want the other director's cut where it's just like the battle, someone, opens, head getting chopped off, battle, and then we're done. So like a
Isn't
1
that-
hour film, I would watch that film again for sure.
I was gonna say, wasn't that his Kingdom of Heaven? Where it was just pretty much just battle, a little bit of drama, battle.
Yeah. And that's another, actually, you bring up Kingdom, that's another one where people are like, oh, so I hear is there a director's cut or was there a talk of a director's cut or something like that? But
I thought any movie he releases, I'm waiting for the Black Rain director's cut. Like that's what I fucking want.
You're telling Ridley,
Michael Douglas.
But you're telling me, Ridley, at this time in your career, you've got this massive list of fucking hits. You're telling me that you're really under the thumb of the studio, or maybe you just need a better editor because you seem to not be able to take all your footage and either make a really good 3-hour film or real good 3.5-hour film. It's like you have a general idea what's supposed to happen. You put that out and then you go, oh, but because I did such a shitty job delivering on the 2-hour version, I've got a 4-hour version of everything that you can also go watch. I'm like, maybe you should just fucking, I don't know if he works with the same editor all the time. If he does, maybe it may be time to change that situation. If you don't work with the same editor all the time, maybe go look at the films that like work really well and dig up that editor, whoever that is, and work with that person. Because I don't think maybe his sensibilities in the editing department are very good. Like I would recommend at this point, don't bother seeing it in the theater. Just wait. Don't actually wait and don't rent it like in the sense of the $25 rental fee that it'll be when it first comes out. Just wait, get a membership to Apple Plus or pay the $7 or whatever. Watch that. If you got a big TV, it'll be great. There's parts, if you want to just fast forward through them, just do that. That'd be cool too. You're probably not going to miss out on anything because the thing is so fucking hack and slash. There's no real continuity between, and by continuity, I mean connectivity between the things anyway. So if you just want to watch the battle scenes, just watch the battle scenes. You're really not going to miss out on anything. Oh, and if you're hoping to think that I was going to end there, I am going to leave on Rex Reed from The Observer, a colossal bore that is never passionate, exciting, sexy, or entertaining, save for exploding horses with their guts blown all over the landscape.
And that is our wrap for the day. Please like and subscribe to this podcast. Tell your friends. If you want to get a hold of us, reach us at the www.howdyoulikethatmovie.com. The funny part, the other day, I'm in the car with my kid and my wife, right? And he was like, Dad, how long is Napoleon? And I'm like, oh, I think it's like a 2.5 hour movie. And my wife's like, don't fucking watch it. That movie's so bad. She was like, it's a waste of time. You'll never get that time back. Don't fucking watch it. And I'm like, when did you watch Napoleon? And she was like, Napoleon Dynamite? And I'm like, no. And I'm like, he's talking about the one I'm doing for my podcast. And she was like, you're doing Napoleon Dynamite for your... I'm like, no.
I mean, we could. And I would watch a 2.5 hour cut of Napoleon Dynamite. That's another one that I definitely want the fucking director's cut of that film.
I was like, no, man. I'm like, Napoleon, the historical figure. She's like, I don't know who that is. I don't know that movie. I'm like, fuck.
Production by Rod Shaver, Vader Monkey Productions.